This is CPM Precalculus Chapter 3, number 93. So given the graph of f of x, here's f of x. Sketch the graph for each of the following transformations. So A, we want to go ahead and sketch the graph of 2 times f of x, right? We know that that's going to give us a vertical stretch by a factor of 2. A factor of 2, right? And what does that mean? That means that on our graph, every y value is going to be multiplied by 2. Okay? So let's go ahead and start at 0, 0. What is the y value of this point? And the y value is 0, so we multiply 0 by 0, we get 0. So that one doesn't change. Let's go ahead and look at this point. When we multiply the y value, which is negative 1, by 2, we get negative 2. So that point is here at negative 2. Okay? This one, the y value is 0. So 0 times 0 is again 0. This one, the y value is 1. So we multiply 1 by 2, we get 2. Right? This y value is 2. We multiply 2 by 2, we get 4. So this should be 4. This one is 3. We multiply 3 by 2, we get 6. So it should be 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm just starting from here to count up to 6. 6, or this one here is 4. We multiply 4 by 2, we get 8, which is outside of our little graph here. So let's go ahead and go to the left. This point here is the y value is 1. So multiply that by 2, you get 1 times 2 is 2. This y value is 2. We get 4. This y value is 3, so right, it's 1, 2, 3. So then we get 6, because 3 times 2 is 6. So it's all the way up here. And all of these are 3, so all those are 6. Okay? So then we just connect the dots. And here I am connecting these dots. And if I had a ruler on this, I would be using that, but I don't. So it kind of looks awful. But I'm sure you have a ruler, so you can do it with your ruler. Make it look really nice. Okay, so as you can see, this function looks like it's been stretched vertically, and it has. It keeps going up like this. So we see that we pulled our function down and up, right? We stretch it vertically, and it is now stretched by a factor of 2. Okay, because what do we have to do? Multiply all y values by 2, leaving the x values alone. Alright, let's go on to part B. Part B, we have this function, and it is f of 2x. Okay, inside the parentheses, multiplied by our x means we're going to do a horizontal stretch, right? Horizontal stretch by a factor of blank. Okay, so I want to just pause for a second because to remind ourselves that when we have it inside, our horizontal stretch is a factor of the reciprocal of 2. And right now 2 is over 1, so the reciprocal is going to be 1 over 2. So we could even call this a horizontal compression or shrink if we'd like. Okay, I'm going to write compression. You could write shrink. Okay, so I'm going to write a horizontal shrink or compression even. Okay, by a factor of 1/2. And that means we're going to multiply all x values by 1/2. Okay, leaving all y values as they are. So let's start in the middle here at 0, 0. And the x value is 0, and multiplying it by 1/2 stays 0. Okay. This one, though, the x value is 1. If you multiply this x value by 1/2, it becomes half. So it's going to move over to 0.5 in the middle between 0 and 1. This value, the x value is 1, 2. You multiply it by half. Well, half of 2 is 1, right? This x value here is 3. You multiply it by half, you have 3 over 2, or 1.5. So it's over here at 1.5, right? This value is at 4, the x value at least, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 divided by 2, or half of 4 is 2, so goes here. And you can see that these are all going to make a line with this. And keep going. I'll do a few more though. Half of 5 is 3.5. 2.5. Half of 5 is 2.5. You can even put in your calculator, just put 5 divided by 2, or 5 times 0.5. 6, the x value here is 6. 6 times 0.5 is 3. And the arrow keeps going, so now I'm going to feel confident to just go ahead and keep drawing my arrow. Again, if I had a ruler, I would use that. Okay, and that is the right half. And I'm going to keep doing this for the left half. The x value again is -1, so it becomes -0.5. The x value is -2, so half of -2 is -1. Half of -3 is -1.5. Half of -4 is 2. It's -2. Half of -5 is -2.5. Half of -6 is 3. And these all are going to the left. And for infinity anyway, so infinity, half of infinity is still infinity. Okay, so that is how we're going to draw that. And then we just connect the dots. And here in blue now is the horizontal compression or shrink. So I'm drawing arrows in. If we could press in these arrows in this direction, right, we would go ahead and take the original graph f of x and compress it by a factor of 1/2. Alright, let's go on to part C. C is negative outside of f of x. So it's negative f of x, and that's going to be a reflection, right? Anytime we have negative, we have reflection. But this is across the x-axis, right? And here's the x-axis, and that means that basically we're going to multiply all the y values, multiply all y values, not b values, but y values, by -1. Okay, so let's start at 0, 0. Well, the y value is 0. Multiply that by -1, you still get 0. The y value here is -1. You multiply -1 by -1, you get +1. Here the y value is 0. Multiply 0 by -1, you get 0 still. +1, you multiply by -1, you get -1. +2, you multiply by -1, you get -2. Right? +3, the y value, you multiply by -1, you get -3. +4, you multiply by -1, you get -4. And here we go, we could connect these dots. And there we go. Okay, I could even connect these. And let's continue. This value is 1 multiplied by -1 becomes negative. You could even think of it as just negating whatever the y value is. So 2 becomes -2. 3 becomes -3. 3 becomes -3 again and again and again. Right? So we're going to have a horizontal line here and then connect these dots. Okay? So this right here in blue is the reflection of f of x, which is in black here, across the x-axis. Okay, if the x-axis were a mirror, that's what would be. That's how we would draw its reflection across it. Okay, finally we have D. D is f of -x. So again we have negative, so that means a reflection, but this time it's inside the parentheses and being multiplied by our x, our input variable. So that means we're reflecting. Reflection. We have a reflection across not our x-axis but our y-axis. Okay. Here's our y-axis, and so that's going to be multiplying all of the x values by -1. Okay, this is just a reminder. This you should put in your notes and have ready, because just with this information, you should be able to draw it easily. Okay, you're going to have the original graph. You're going to reflect everything across the y-axis. Okay, another way you can do it is also like I said when reflecting across the x-axis. is you can just negate all of the x values here. Okay, so here the x value is 0, still stays 0 when you multiply it by -1. X value of 1 becomes -1, right? X value of 2 becomes -2. X value of 3 becomes -3. X value of 4 becomes -4. X value of 5 becomes -5. X value of 6 becomes -6, right? So that's with that side of the original graph. It went from the right side to the left side. Okay, see how that's a nice reflection of this? Now let's go ahead and continue on with this piece. So reflecting this to the right, reflecting -2 to +2, reflecting -3 to +3, reflecting all of these here to all of these here. Okay? Alright, so there's our reflection across the y-axis. And we have finished with CPM Precalculus Chapter 3, number 93.